It looks like around the time that I first came into contact with him, when I was about 17, 18. He was an extraordinary human being. One of the people I filmed in a film about him said that being in his company was a bit like sticking your finger into an electrical socket.
Jake, thank you so much for being here.
That's true.
It's wonderful to have you with these 3 extraordinary pictures by Freud. They chart 3 decades of his life, the 1940s, 1950s and 1960s. And I wondered, as someone who knew the artist, what your reaction is to seeing these pictures.
It's always nice to see Lucian's pictures because there's, apart from anything else, there's such quality. But the self-portrait particularly is a reminder of the man himself, which is a pleasure.
You met him famously through your father. Your father was someone that he esteemed and he loved as a painter. And you interviewed him in 1988 for the BBC.
Yes, for what it's worth, it was never due to be an interview. I was sometimes called in by my father to help hang pictures, just being brute strength, moving things around. And Lucian asked if I could come and help with the hanging of the Hayward exhibition. And I just got a job as a director at the BBC. And I wrote to Lucian and said, what about having cameras there recording the hang of the exhibition? And we'll just witness it. In the break of the hang, I asked them a couple of questions. And then at the end of the hang, he said, have you got any more questions? And we sat down and I asked some more questions. So,
amazing.
Yeah, no, it was fun. But it was my first proper film. So I was very nervous and he was very nervous. He was nervous because, quite sensibly, he was aware that he was going down on record.
Do you try and avoid things when you're doing a self-portrait?
I notice from self-portraits very, very often that I look at people tend to give themselves a kind of grandeur, which they certainly don't give to other people. And I don't know if I succeed in this, but I'm conscious of trying to avoid that very much.
The self-portrait, the first time I saw it, it was almost like he was there in the room. And when you stand with it, you realize he's not looking at you at all. He really is scrutinizing himself. But you do feel that there is this focal point. And this painting was always considered to be self-portrait fragment. Nevertheless, when you look at it, you kind of have the sense of the full picture. Your mind fills in the gaps.
Yes, I think, and I don't know the circumstances at that time, but I can't imagine Lucian letting something go unless he thought it was finished. You can describe it as a fragment, but I think it's a finished picture as far as Lucian is concerned. And, it's starting with the eyes, it makes sense to me. There is an enormous focus about Lucian. He would talk to one person at a time and give them absolute attention.
I thought that we would have a moment to have a little look at the 1944 painting of Lorna Wishart. Lorna was an incredibly beautiful woman, a confident woman who knew her mind. I think he was 19 when he picked up with Lorna in 1942. She was 30 at the time. We have the benefit of having this picture here, and it is incredibly powerful. You get the suggestion that he's a very young man confronted with the first woman that really he falls in love with, but also the first woman that ever leaves him. I love the shape of the eyes and the sort of very slim eyebrows and the mouth. And even in this early painting, the skin is not only one colour. You get the sense that she has a little bit of flush in her forehead. And of course, that becomes so much more pronounced by the time you get to 1956 and there's self-portrait behind us. It's all sorts of different colours.
They look real.
Yes.
People look like that. David Hockney described sitting for Lucian, and Lucian gets right up close to have a look at bits of his face while he's doing the portrait. So I think there was always a concentration on detail.
If you're painting humans, you've got the best subject matter in the world. And when I'm not painting them, which is rare, I feel I'm being pretty frivolous.
In The Sleeping Head, he's painted a woman at rest. Now, we can't tell if she's got a slight smile on her lips, if she's really fully asleep, if she's pretending to be asleep. It is actually quite an act of trust to fall asleep in front of someone as they're recording you doing it.
I spoke to a number of people who sat for Lucian, and some of them slept, and some of them read, and some of them didn't sleep, but none of them felt less than secure. You know, it's in an artist's interest to make a sitter feel comfortable and to want to come back. It's not as if one turns up with Lucian and sits for a couple of hours, leaves him a photograph, and then waits for the result. You know, it could, I think, take over your life. Lucian worked extremely hard and for very long hours. And I think he did that because, well, maybe borrowing a quote from my father, he said, it's, you know, the best game I've ever played. Why would I do anything else?